Oh, sorry, do you know which order you want us to do the instruction?
Spanish, Amharic, and then Arabic is perfect.
Okay.
Good evening, everybody. We'll get started in a few minutes. I guess, Erin, if you want to go ahead and give the interpreter instructions, just to make sure I don't mess it up.
No problem. Hi, everyone. So we're going to start the meeting in just a minute, but first I wanted to let you know that we do have translators for Spanish, Amharic, and Arabic, and they're going to introduce themselves to you now.
Buenas tardes, soy María López, voy a ser su intérprete al español hoy. Tenemos intérpretes en amárico, árabe y para poder conectarse a los canales para poder escuchar el lenguaje que usted desee, tiene que pulsar en el icono del globo y así pulsar en el idioma donde quiere escuchar.
ጤና ይስጥልኝ እንኳን ደህና መጣችሁ ወደዚህ ወደ ማህበረሰብ ስብሰባ የቋንቋ አገልግሎት እየተሰጠ ነው ያለው የአማርኛ ቋንቋን ለምትፈልጉ የዓለም ቅርጽ ያለበትን በመጫን አምሃሪክ የሚለውን በመምረጥ የአማርኛ ቋንቋ ትርጉሙን ማግኘት ትችላላችሁ እንዲሁም ደግሞ በስልካችሁና በታብሌት ለምትጠቀሙ በስልካችሁ በላይኛው በኩል 3 ነጥብ ያለበትን በመጫን ቋንቋውን በመምረጥ አገልግሎቱን ማግኘት ትችላላችሁ ታንኪዩ
مساء الخير نشكركم على حضور الاجتماع اليوم نحب ننوه بأنه هذا الاجتماع مزود باللغات الثلاثة بالإضافة للغة الإنجليزية العربية الأمهرية والإسبانية إذا بتحبوا تشاهدونا باللغة المناسبة لكم وبالنسبة لنا العربية رجاء الضغط على إشارة الكرة الأرضية إذا كنتوا عم تشاهدونا أو تحضرونا عفوا من الكمبيوتر إذا كنتوا عم تحضرونا من التليفون رجاء الضغط على الإشارات الثلاثة بأسفل الشاشة لاختيار اللغة المناسبة لكم وهي اللغة العربية في حالتنا شكرا لاستماعكم اليوم
Okay, thank you. Good evening, everybody. Sorry. Is everybody in there? Okay, sorry. Good evening, everybody. Thank you for joining us tonight. We know, I think our last community meeting on Douglas MacArthur was back in December, and we did want to provide you an update. I'm sure you've seen, for those of you in the neighborhood, that some things have been happening on site, but the building is still there. And so we do want to talk with you all tonight, just provide an update on the construction and talk about some of the next steps. So I will share our presentation. Please bear with me a moment. Okay. Hopefully that's coming through for everybody. So just a brief agenda. Again, we'll be pretty quick tonight. And please use the Q&A chat in the bottom of your screen to submit any questions. And at the end, we'll go through as many of those as we can. We want to talk tonight about where we are in the process, what construction activities are happening right now, what is our timeline, our next steps, and then just reminding everybody how you all can stay updated. Although presumably if you're here, you are getting our regular updates. So thanks for joining us tonight. We want to talk about where we are now. Currently, we're in the abatement process. Abatement for our facility includes removing all the hazardous materials, including asbestos from the old building. It is required prior to demolition that we remove all of those things so they don't end up in the air when we do demolish the building. And it must be completed before official demolition begins or before we even obtain that demolition permit. We do want to talk through some of the permits required so you can just understand what's kind of happening internally as we move to get the building demolished and then ultimately build our full Douglas MacArthur School. So just to talk through our permit process, There are a couple permits we have already obtained, and there's a few we're working on. The ones we've already obtained are in green, so we do have the abatement permit. That's the work that's being completed now. And we also have a hauling permit, which our contractors recently submitted to be able to, once we start demolition, to be able to truck everything off the site. That is a requirement for the city of Alexandria. We're currently working on our final site plan, and particularly the early release permit. The early release permit allows us to start on some of the site work required for the construction prior to obtaining the full final site plan approval. Also, the demolition permit, as I mentioned, we've submitted, I think, just about everything required for the demolition permit, except that abatement has to be fully complete and a clearance letter for that has to be submitted prior to obtaining that demolition permit. We're also looking to submit a foundation to grade and sheeting and shoring permit. As some of you may know, we do have an underground parking garage as part of this design, and that is a significant part of the foundation to grade, which is basically includes everything below the ground, including our parking garage that we can start building. Sheeting and shoring is just what's required to make sure that the surrounding area and land does not collapse as we go to build this parking garage. We're also working on our final site permit. So once the council approved our design last September, we then go through several more detailed design documents for the city to review. And that's part of that final site permit process. We are hopefully nearing completion of that process, which will then allow us to go for our final building permit, which is required for the full above ground construction. So we just wanted to give everybody an idea of all of the work that is going on between ACPS with its contractors, DLR Group, our architect, as well as Skanska, our construction management team, and the city of Alexandria. So in this next slide, I actually wanted to turn it over to Skanska, and I apologize. I realized I did not introduce myself. My name is Erica Gulick. I'm the Director of Capital Programs Planning and Design with Alexandria City Public Schools for the office managing this project. With me tonight, I have Erin Metcalf, who is our CIP Communications Specialist, as well as Paul Yumby, who is the project manager, and of course, several members of the Skanska and DLR Group team. So I will now turn it over, I believe, to Eric Henson, who is your new neighbor for the next couple of years, managing the Douglas MacArthur project. So Eric, if you want to talk with everybody a little bit about what we've done so far on the site and what we have coming up in the next couple of weeks.
Not a problem. First, can everybody hear me, or could you hear me? Just want to make sure. Okay, all right. So I'm Eric Henson. I am the superintendent on site, and if a lot of you pass by, you probably see me in my red car. So that's how you know that I'm there. My red car is the one that's usually at the front gate and or probably up at that 1201 property. So feel free to kind of reach out to me, say hello. If you have any concerns, just kind of bring it right to me. I'll make sure I address it instantaneously. But for the most part, progress on site, as you see, we have our perimeter fence up. So we have a wooden fence on each side where the properties are. And then we actually have chain link fence along the trail. And I've installed signs back there, and I'm relocating the signs just to make sure everybody aware of the new route to get around, because a lot of people are still kind of curious as to how to get to the trail. So that sign is actually at the front gate. So you could just kind of look there to see what that detour looked like. We have installed dust monitors and vibration monitors, and those should be actively online today or no later than tomorrow, where we get info to ensure that, you know, we are maintaining the dust, and we know we'll get an instant call prior to us meeting the vibration threshold within the site. So we are sure that we do not go above where we need to be at. So those are installed. If you ever look by, you'll see little blue boxes on the ground, and that's what that is for. On the interior, they're doing abatement now, and it's been ongoing for a couple weeks, and it is on pace to be done somewhere around the first week of April. And then after that, that's when you'll see us kind of start mobilizing to start tearing the building down. Once we get the all clear letter, like Erica spoke of, kind of after the first week of April, you'll see us kind of slow down the cars while we get that permit process complete. And then that's when you'll start seeing the equipment coming in to start actually tearing the building down. So I'm a little bit excited about seeing that. And then we actually have our webcam installed. So if for anybody that passed by, they'll see the big pole in the yard at the 1201. At the top of that is our webcam. And I will be placing a QR code on our sidewalk superintendent. So you can kind of scan that code and kind of get the updates you need to have. But now that's what we have going on now. Again, I think you can anticipate somewhere maybe third week of April, maybe the end of April, when we'll start bringing in trucks and kind of hauling out dirt where the noise will get maybe a little bit more louder. Again, just want to make sure everybody is prepared for that. And if anybody have any questions, just feel free to reach out to me. I'll be in the red car or around the red car, or you could get my telephone number once you get that QR code.
Okay, thank you, Eric. Moving on, we just want to go over the timeline. And so just to go back into history a little bit, we made the decision to kind of pursue the swing space in 2019. We quickly got a design to use that swing space, and our students have started there this month, which is really exciting. All things but judging by the fact that I haven't gotten too many calls from the principal or assistant principals, I think things are going well. People are liking the swing space and their school, and that's really exciting. We're happy we were able to provide them that space with several renovations. We now are into this construction of Douglas MacArthur, and will be over the course of the next nearly 2 years, looking to open the new building per the original timeline in the winter of 2023, and finalize what's driving that timeline is being able to tear down the old Patrick Henry building, what's currently being used for the swing space, and install the fields and the parking lot as originally intended for fall of 2023. And so that is still where we are with the schedule. Just to reiterate some of the next steps, as Eric mentioned, we're finishing up that abatement process, looking to sometime in mid to late April for the first bulldozer. You'll see the equipment starting to take the old school down. We are working with the communications team to plan a virtual demolition event. We know we want to be safe, but we also know people have been very eager to see the building come down. So we will be planning that and either doing a live stream via Facebook Live or something like that. It will be in the morning just because we don't want to waste a day of work. And once we figure out the final permits and when we get that final clearance letter, we'll have a better idea of the time of that. The demolition will then start and it's estimated to last approximately 2 to 3 months. And then we'll be going right into construction of the new school. So immediately following that will be ongoing until the winter of 2023 when they move back in. And then we just want to make sure that we're planning for adequate time in the occupancy phase for our teachers, for our students to come back from the swing space to start mid-year in their new building. And then after making sure we're demolishing and as I said before, finishing off that Patrick Henry site. And so this is our final slide. We want to make sure we provide you with all of the links. So there is the project website that Skanska will maintain. We'll have the up-to-date information, pictures from their webcam. They also have, they'll also provide kind of biweekly look aheads and also what's been completed. In addition, Eric Henson, the project superintendent who just spoke, his contact information is up there, as well as our project manager, Joe Kaifis, I believe. So you can reach out directly to them. But of course, you also have the new MacArthur email. Again, that comes directly to me, directly to Paul Yumby, our project manager, directly to Erin, our CIP communications specialist, and is shared with the team. So that's really the best way to get a comment or a question to us. And you can also sign up for our email updates. We did want to point out on our Skanska project website, they had said, you could click in and draw what you think the new school is going to look like. And we had a kindergartner submit this picture. So we thought it'd be great to share with you all. And I don't think it's too far off from what we're building. So that's exciting. This is really all the update we had today. I do see a few questions in the chat. So we can go ahead and start going through them and we can answer them. I'll ask maybe Erin, since you are still on with us, do you want to read the questions, read some of the questions that have come in and we will respond?
Yes. So one of the questions here is, will the project plan allow for the preservation of the 7 to 8 mature trees on the home property lot purchased by ACPS to the left of the school when facing the building?
That is a good question. I know we are preserving some of the trees. We can't preserve all of them because of where the building sits. Maybe I'll ask Erica Lehman, do you know more about which trees we are preserving to respond to that?
Yes, specifically, we're preserving more of the trees that are actually at the east end of the site. Some of those large trees that are near the current drive aisle. I believe there's probably one significant tree on the west end of the site, but the majority of what's on the home site, we're going to have to demolish based on having to get site access there.
Yeah, we did try to preserve as many of the mature trees that were in good condition as we could, but just given the site layout, some of them did have to go, but thank you for that question. Erin, you want to ask another one?
We also have, would it be possible to issue weekly updates or bi-weekly written updates on progress of construction?
I feel like you can answer that question, Erin.
I can answer that question. So, and we're on the perfect slide for it. So we have just recently, with our partners at Skanska, have created a project website that will have updates. I think they update bi-weekly, if I'm not mistaken. And those updates are filtered into our website as well. So if you see here on the Douglas MacArthur modernization page, you'll find a 2-week look ahead, as well as a synopsis of all the meetings that we've had in relation to the Douglas MacArthur modernization project. You can also sign up for our email update newsletter, which is, I know a lot of you probably already have, which is how you got your invitation to this meeting here, but feel free to do that and to send questions to our new MacArthur email. So you will get bi-weekly and bi-monthly updates from all of us. And that Skanska website is your best bet for things happening in the moment on the construction site. All right. The next question is, what are the construction work hours and work days?
Eric or Joe, do you want to answer that?
Yeah, the construction hours are from 7 to, I want to say it was 6 p.m. And this first phase is 7 to 3:30, in this abatement phase. But during the demolition and construction is 7 to 6. I typically try to get there to open up the gate now at 6 o'clock in the morning, so I can make sure no one is parked on the street waiting to get inside the fence. So I'm usually there at 6 a.m. I open up the gate, guys in there, and nobody is idling in front of the gate. But the work actually start at 7 and it's over at 3:30 in this phase. During the construction, it'll be 7 to 6.
All right, and it looks like we have a few questions asking for some clarification on the last few months of the timeline and winter of 2023. If we have an exact date for that.
Yes, so I can see them as well. So we did put winter 2023 just because the rest of the timeline was addressing seasons, but January 2023 is still the target, and that is still what we're working towards when we say winter.
And one says, I noticed that this topic was on the agenda for the most recent school board meeting. Can you tell us what was discussed?
Yes, I can, and we did receive this question. It was a contract matter, which is why you aren't able to view the documents, but we had a design change order, just had to add additional funds to some of the design, mostly for the parking garage, which wasn't originally included as part of the design contract. And so that's what that was for. Still within our budget and something we had been planning for, but the school board does have certain policies and oversight of these types of contract changes, so that's what that was.
Next is, please provide an update on the status of underground parking.
So this is something we are in a lot of conversations about right now between the team. So we are currently working and negotiating our second guaranteed maximum price, which is the next amendment to the construction contract. The first GMP guaranteed maximum price was for just the demolition and abatement. And the next one is buying a significant portion of the construction to include where we need to make the decision on whether we are doing the 84 space parking garage or the 52 space parking garage. We are still having that discussion, and we'll have more information on that following spring break. We are looking to schedule an advisory, a Douglas MacArthur advisory group meeting that first week back from spring break to discuss the parking garage and what option will be pursued. But no decision has been made yet.
Right, and please address rodent control. Describe what that entails.
Eric, can you answer that?
Yeah, so rodent control is, in order for us to obtain our permit, we have to actually install means and methods to control any rodents that could possibly be in the building currently and or displaced from, say, the forest or something like that. And so all it is just us having a kind of a company come out and install kind of traps to capture, you know, bigger animals, and then smaller ones to kind of kill any possible rodents that, you know, so it won't infest the houses around the community. But as far as like us in trash, we manage our trash really, really well. So it wouldn't be that we generate the rodents, but they obviously, if it's some there, we have to have that addressed prior to them providing us a permit.
Yeah, and I will say the building has been vacant since March, so hopefully since March of last year for almost a year. So hopefully they've all moved, all the rodents have moved out by then, but it is by now, but it's a requirement. So Erin, you want to ask another one?
We also have, our grass fields still on the table as a cost mitigation measure?
Yes, they are, I believe. I'm not sure. I'm guessing that will be part of the final the third phase of the GMP. So we have not made that decision yet, and I don't think we will make that decision on the same timeline as the parking garage. But yes, that is still on the table. Again, another last resort, something we're hoping we don't have to pursue.
Is there a possibility to allow a narrow path or cut through from Janney's Lane to Forest Park along the right-hand border fence in the parking lot during construction as a quality of life consideration for community members who walk in the Forest Park?
Yeah, I can start on this, and then maybe Joe or Eric, if you want to touch on it too. This is something we heard a lot from the community and the advisory group, and we did really try to see if this was feasible. Unfortunately, even though it looks like an empty parking lot right now, it will very soon be a construction zone where we're putting in geothermal wells, as well as mobilizing for the demolition of the building. And so it's really not safe for us to provide any connection at this time. We have talked with Skanska about potentially in the future, maybe a year from now or, sometime next summer, maybe there's enough construction done, we can talk about that. But given just the safety and the amount of construction and disturbance we are doing on the site, there's nowhere really safe for us to put in a cut through to Forest Park. However, I know the detour sign is posted on the gate, and there are a couple of other options to access Forest Park from the Janney's Lane sign. Joe or Eric, did you want to comment on that at all?
Well, just only, and honestly, it's two access points. One is in the center of the building. That's the one that's closer to the playground. And the one that's, I guess, to the west, the property line, again, there's a line of trees, but once you get down to a certain point, then we have the neighboring fence and the existing property line that just does not allow for the space for the geothermal field. So someone will probably be able to get maybe a halfway down, but then you have the neighbor's fence that kind of close off that space. So it just wouldn't be feasible right now, especially with the type of equipment, because we'll be drilling down in the ground a couple 100 feet. So those rigs are kind of tall. So it just wouldn't be safe, but the fence of the neighbor's property kind of close in once you get maybe halfway down. So it's just not feasible.
The daytime hours of this phase of construction are 7 a.m. to 3:30 p.m. When will the extended hours occur?
Once we have the demolition permit.
And that's, Eric, sorry, that's extended to what time?
6.
Okay, and that's all in accordance with the city's
Yes.
approval.
Well, I do not anticipate doing demolition that long in the day. I don't anticipate it. The permit just allows us to work from 7 to 6.
Is the community able to interact directly with the project manager about ongoing construction?
Yes, so as stated before, we'll continue to provide those updates on our webpage. We have a 2-week look ahead directly on our webpage. You also can go to the link for the Skanska website, where they'll have more up-to-date information as well as pictures. We can do regular updates if we think meetings like this are helpful. I know some people will, dive into the information, but if these kind of check-ins are helpful, we could potentially set up, a quarterly update or something like that. But you also have kind of constant access to us through that new MacArthur email, and also through, I know Eric's contact information is on the webpage as well, if you have any complaints or things that need to be addressed.
Is demo and construction from 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. only Monday through Friday, or also weekends? And for residents across the street, how much noise and dust and debris should we expect during different phases?
So noise, dust, and debris, we will keep it to the minimum. So across the street, I do not anticipate them having dust. One thing I will say, we typically use what's called a mister. And from a distance, when you look, it's literally us shooting a kind of a cloud of water up there, kind of water vapors, just to keep the dust down. And from a distance, it could look like a dust cloud. I've had that misconception before, but it's just kind of something that shoot water like 50 feet in the air, and this allows the dust to stay down. So I do not anticipate having dust in the people's house across the street. We will be screening the fence along Janney's Lane. I just been a little bit reluctant at this particular point to do it because it tend to turn into a kite once we put the screen up there. So I'm kind of waiting to the very last minute to put it up, and that'll help kind of mitigate some of that, migrant dust that could come out there. But I do not anticipate the dust going across. The noise, again, we will monitor the noise. It'll be typical because knocking the building down, I don't anticipate, any noise that's higher than a typical, construction. We do have a existing foundation that we have to take out, and that will create probably a little bit more noise than usual, and maybe a little bit more vibration than usual. But one good thing is that basement is not that big, and the walls are not that long, so it's not like we're taking out a whole block. It's just kind of one little isolated area. So don't anticipate us making too much noise, but there will be some noise, and we'll keep it at a minimum as best as possible. And then we've taken some steps to kind of make sure we minimize kind of big hammering noise when we putting in our SOE. So we'll be drilling those in. So we are taking steps to make sure we minimize the noise, because I know how close we are to the neighbors on both sides and across the street.
Hey, Eric, just to clarify maybe, so if we're starting the demolition in let's say mid to late April, can you describe when that removal of the foundation and that loud part will be?
So the building will come down in maybe 3 weeks. And then what'll happen is they'll pile up all of the building material, because we'll sort it. So that'll probably take a 2-week process. And then once all of that is sorted, then the demo guy can actually look at the actual foundation and see the hole in the basement. Is right around the time they'll start doing that hammering. And I anticipate taking that basement out, hammering on that basement, and the foundations will probably take maybe a week to get those walls down. It shouldn't take longer than a week, because again, that basement is not that big, and that'll be the loudest point of it. So you figure 5 weeks in, once the demos start, we should be around ready to knock that basement out. And then a week after that, the noise probably go back down, because then we'll just start hauling out the pieces somewhere around that timeline.
Thank you.
All right, and we have a question asking for clarification if demo is going to be taking place on weekends.
No.
And are the construction?
Then I would say today, I say no. Now, we run into a situation, our permit allows us to work on the weekend. If we run into a situation where we have, 10 straight days of rain, honestly, that'll help us with the demo. So I'm gonna force the guys to kind of work, because we won't need the misters to kind of tear the building down, but it will affect them kind of traversing around and trying to sort the pieces of the material to get them actually hauled out. So right now, I do not anticipate actual demo on Saturday. And if we do work on Saturday, it will be kind of minimized to kind of sorting the material and not necessarily hammering and knocking down of the building. But today, that answer is probably, we may not, but again, if we have to work on a Saturday, it'll be just sorting the materials, the metal pieces here, the brick pieces there, the concrete pieces there. So on Monday, they could just kind of lift it and put it in the truck, and they can haul it right out.
Right. Now we have, are the construction employees being advised to park on a particular road or roads during the day?
So now, no, they are not. Right now, today, they are pulling in the parking lot because we're doing abatement. And when we do the demo, we'll actually still have a piece of that parking lot left there. But we do have off-site parking and shuttle that will be put in place, where they'll park at that parking garage at the Hoffman, and we'll have shuttle buses running back and forth. Right now, that is the plan. But we are not directing any, actually, I try to police the cars in the neighborhood. Anybody getting out of a car with a vest on, I just approach them to make sure they understand what the parking rules are. So no, we have not, and I have not, and will not direct guys to park in the community anywhere.
Yeah, the city requires us to provide off-site parking, so we're not allowed to park on any of the public or private roads in the area, just to be clear. So if you are a neighbor and you do see that, as Eric mentioned, please feel free to let him know, email that New MacArthur site, and we'll make sure it's taken care of.
In response to Eric's comment about sorting, will efforts be made to recycle existing building materials and generally minimize waste?
Absolutely. Yes.
Can you describe your runoff abatement plans being downhill from the site? There are concerns about water and/or mud flow.
So I could just start and then we could maybe talk about some of the specifics, but prior to construction and part of that early site work release that we talked about earlier is the erosion and sediment control plan. So we do have to make sure that there is an adequate plan in place to contain any runoff, erosion, or sediment during construction. And then afterwards, of course, that our final plan addresses any runoff from the school once it is constructed. If any members of the team want to speak to some of the silt fence plans or anything else we have that will be going up at the site.
Yeah, again, we'll have we will have an approved set of drawings that kind of dictate from the city what we have to put in to maintain and control rainwater and any other water that possibly run off. And we actually have inspections from the city quite often and after and during most rain events. So that one, yes, it definitely will have it mitigated again, unless we have what they consider 100-year storm. And again, we still are required to have our system to be able to withstand that. So I do not anticipate us having that. Again, accidents happen, wind blow hard, things kind of move. But if anybody ever was to see anything, please make sure you bring it to me. And I've worked on jobs that's been on, you know, that has a hill like it is now. So I fully understand what we have to do to put in place to kind of make sure and maintain that runoff.
Okay, and we have a question about accessing the PowerPoint slides, and I can answer that. So the PowerPoint slides will go up on the website tomorrow morning. The video recording of this meeting will also go up on the website as soon as it's captioned per ADA requirements. So you will have access to these PowerPoint slides as early as tomorrow morning. And that looks like all the questions we have right now.
Okay, great. Well, thank you all. I think this, it was really great to be able to provide you all this update. I know it's been a little bit, I know everybody's anxious and kind of anticipating that demolition and some of just the impact that will have on the neighborhood. We will be in communication with you all. Again, please email us and check our website. We'll continue to have those things updated. As Eric said, he will be out with his red car every day. You can find him and feel free to ask him a question. Certainly myself and Paul Yumby will be out there as well pretty often. So thank you for joining us tonight. As Erin said, the PowerPoint will be up on the website tomorrow. This meeting will be recorded and posted as soon as it is captioned. Please be patient with us as we do have a lot of things going on throughout the school division, as well as any questions that were submitted tonight that we may have missed. We'll also be collecting those and making sure to use them to inform our project and also update any frequently asked questions. So thank you all. Have a good night and we'll talk soon.